The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our ServiceNow series, where we interview the best and brightest of the industry to share their story, advice, and views on the exciting world of ServiceNow and digital transformation.
Hello everybody, you are listening to the Alldus podcast as part of our ServiceNow series. I'm very happy to welcome you all to today's show. My name is Mark Kelly, Chief Customer Officer at Alldus International, and I'm very happy to welcome Jerry Dolak. Jerry is Principal RSM and he is running the ServiceNow national practice at RSM. Jerry, great to have you on the show today.
Oh, happy to be here, Mark.
Jerry, tell me a little bit about your journey to now and how you got into the world of ServiceNow.
For the last 20 or so years, I've been involved in deployment of project portfolio management software. I'd focused on Clarity. I've done some Plan View here or there, Microsoft Project. I'm a certified project portfolio management manager. And over that time and supporting those tools, where we had a lot of focus on CA Clarity, now Broadcom Clarity. In my older firm, Rigo Consulting, we were looking at diversification of our tool sets that we're able to offer. And we came upon ServiceNow as it was really just starting up its function, its area of the platform that dealt with project portfolio management. It was still relatively new to the platform. Of course, ServiceNow had been dominating in IT service management for years. And as they were expanding, we were able to align with them from our firm, Rigo Consulting. So, we were able to help out with a lot of the initial requirements. We did some of the initial build for the application portfolio management solution. So we really got in at the ground level with ServiceNow from a project portfolio management perspective. And I guess that was about 6 or so years ago that we're involved. So we really started to build up our practice, focusing specifically on what then was called IT business management, is now called strategic portfolio management, or SPM. So along that time, we built up an alignment with ServiceNow. We built up our focus within the market on strategic portfolio management. And then a little over a year ago, we were divested out of Rigo and acquired by RSM. So we moved our practice into RSM US and have been building further momentum, not just within SPM and application portfolio management, but also diversification across the rest of the platform. So now, as we've come into a larger organization and built up our practice, we've also added offices that, we've had capabilities for delivery in Canada. So as we've expanded our team, we've also expanded our capabilities across the platform. So now ITOM, ITAM, CSM are areas, HR, GRC are also areas that we focus on in addition to SPM. So Mark, we really started our journey in that niche of strategic portfolio management and then have diversified our practice across the rest of nobody can do all the platform, but really how we've built up more and more of a solution set to be and capability for delivery to support our clients, Mark.
Brilliant, great answer. Really enjoyable to actually hear about how you've actually transitioned, and such an exciting time for you guys at the moment. If we just jump into SPM, can you give us a little bit of an overview about some of the possible solutions that you can provide? And people may not know they even need a solution like this, but maybe some case studies that come to mind of return on investment.
So for those that aren't as familiar with SPM or project portfolio management, there's a couple schools of thought around it. So first, you have the traditional, right, where you're coming in and managing projects. And again, ServiceNow does a very good job of managing projects from an intake perspective, from capacity alignments to planning to balancing out the financials in the portfolio. And ServiceNow has really been introducing a number of tools on top of that, from just a management of traditional project work. But SPM is more than that now, in that it's also how work is managed across the organization. Maybe not just projects, maybe not just those historical traditional waterfall types of activities that occur within project delivery. ServiceNow has really been diversifying the capabilities on the platform with investment funding. The alignment workspace planner is really evolving into being able to manage the way and use the ServiceNow platform to manage work across the organization, whether it's in IT or on the business side. It's really given a lot of different capabilities, which is exciting for us from a consulting practice, in that we're able to bring some different solutions to clients. For example, and we're going to have a couple case studies coming out here pretty soon, Mark, that are in the work. One that is actually being released today in Canada and tomorrow in the United States, that for one of our solutions here called WorkHub. So some examples is that we're using SPM with alignment to our new ESG solutions, environment, social, and governance solutions, which are really starting to be the next wave for a lot of organizations. So we've partnered with our RSM management consulting group that has algorithms that do scoring for ESG. So if a company wants to know what their overall ESG score is, our RSM proprietary algorithms will help calculate that. But we have then taken that output from our proprietary solutions and we built it into ServiceNow so that now you can track. So now you can see dashboards. Now you can align work. You can build and take that score and take what you're doing from a strategy perspective with ESG and then use ServiceNow to manage it and to track how you as an organization are going towards that goal, how you're improving your ESG and your overall ESG score. And ESG will, as it's evolving, this is still a relatively new tech and, new for me as well, as I'm learning more and more about ESG. I've also heard it compared to people getting a company's FICO score, right? It's ESG, how well are you performing in environment, social, and governance that's really going to impact your overall clients' health and what they're able to do from everything from loans to insurance to acquisition, et cetera. So that's an exciting area, Mark, when we're using ServiceNow to help manage that work for ESG. Another particular case study is around a solution that we call WorkHub. So WorkHub is a domain-separated instance that RSM has stood up that has both IT service management and SPM on the WorkHub that is domain separated and allows us to focus more on the mid-market. So the solution that we built, GBW, who is a high-end furniture manufacturer here in the United States, has used WorkHub to help align with their IT strategies and their overall growing business. So the WorkHub is designed around all of our best practices that we have from implementation. So we'll take the solutions that we've built in our update sets, these use cases per client, and implement it into our WorkHub. So we've got a pre-built solution around IT service management and SPM that is fast to implement. It's got a high ROI for clients. And with MGBW, we've got a pretty nice write-up that's coming out from a use case perspective, Mark, that will be shared. And we could obviously provide a link that gives a nice background on how MGBW is using ServiceNow within their IT organization and using the pre-built RSM solution to meet their overall needs.
That'd be brilliant. I think we'll put that link in to go through that, because if it's fast to implement and we can see the ROI, that's something that everybody would be very interested in. And it's funny, when you look at ESG, I see it as a little bit of a game changer now, because some of the senior level directors, their bonuses are getting related to how they're doing on ESG. So when you start to track that goal and keep an eye on how people are going to be paid, suddenly it's got teeth. They can actually start to say, oh, we're taking this seriously. I can see it quite a few VC firms are very purposeful around that in terms of their kind of strategy. I think it's just better practice overall. And I think if companies haven't really got used to it yet, they will in the next 6 to 12 months.
For sure. The other area that I like about ESG is often we forget from a business standpoint what we're doing to help the world and help and contribute. We're not going to make anything one big sweeping change and an implementation of ESG isn't going to change the world. We only change things socially. We only change things environmentally through increments and doing some things better. So it's when you build and do little things better like ESG, it kind of gives you more value in what you do within your business, right? You can hang your hat on something like, look, we decreased our carbon footprint, or we've got improved social plans for working mothers, right? And things that we've done that are trackable so you can show success. But we only can improve things from a business or improve things within our world through small increments. And it gives us something different than the focus on then everything isn't just about profits, right? Everything isn't just about making sure that we're cutting costs here or there. And I think ESG carries that type of, hey, I'm making something better in the world. And I think that's the underlying piece of it, Mark, that kind of gets me a little bit more excited about ESG than a marketing program or something like that, is that it does give some intrinsic value. And as you said, businesses are taking note of it. They're lining in corporate bonuses. It's becoming a component for mergers and acquisitions. What's their ESG score? How healthy are they in these areas? So we're really excited about what we're doing with our management consulting practice from an ESG perspective, but also how we're taking that and putting it into ServiceNow for tracking, Mark.
You are listening to the Alldus podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
When we look at some of the challenges to strategic implementation, and we all know people don't necessarily like change, and I'm probably being kind with that. How have you kind of managed through the different change agents and being successful with kind of getting these projects over the line?
Obviously, you have to have all the foundational pieces from a delivery perspective. You got to have knowledgeable resources. We have a lot of former practitioners on our team, so we have senior resources that have been in the client's shoes and that can relate to it. But having all the skill sets, having all the primary delivery approaches and examples, that's standard with us. But from a delivery standpoint, and when I see challenges at clients, or you look at the successful deployments in complex organizations, one of there's two pieces that are interrelated. First, it's you have to have buy-in within the client from top leadership down. People within the company need to understand the direction and why we're using ServiceNow we'll stay with the SPM theme, why we're changing project portfolio management tools, what direction, how is this going to help? And that messaging needs to be from the top down and have the support from the top down to implement that change. From a project delivery perspective, taking that support and then having a good organizational change strategy. So the OCM around projects, especially at larger organizations, is key to the change, because we can go and configure the platform, ServiceNow's workflows, and all those capabilities are outstanding, and we have our resources to go and manage and build and have ServiceNow do all kinds of amazing things. But if you don't have buy-in within the organization, if you don't have people understanding the value of using the tool in the appropriate ways, and obviously you got to train them and have the support there, but if people don't buy into having ServiceNow or having any tool for that matter there to be able to support their work, you're not going to have much success, Mark, the answer to that question is, as it is in a lot of things in life, it's just communication, right? Communication and getting everybody together moving in the right way. And, that's something that we can help with as consultants, but you really need to have that champion within the organization that's driving it forward. And the one analogy I could think of, and this was more for people here in the United States, but if you're a football fan, I've been watching Hard Knocks on HBO. So they did the Detroit Lions this year, and they really did a pretty in-depth view of how organizationally the Lions are going from the bottom of, one of the worst teams in the NFL, and how they're changing that culture and how they're driving that forward. And that starts with executive leadership. That starts with a head coach that the Lions now have in Dan Campbell that's driving that change. And you can have all the skill sets, you can have all the different tools and capabilities, but if you don't have somebody within that organization being that leader and driving that change, you're not going to see success, Mark. And it really comes down to leadership within the client and us as consultants supporting that leadership and helping champion that change within the organization.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of all those kind of shows. All or Nothing is a big one for me as well, across the NFL, and the soccer has been just game changing. Our previous guest asked a question to you, no names needed from the customer perspective, but maybe a time where you're against the wall. How did you come out and come to success?
I would go back that we had a relatively large client that was pushing for change within their organization and maybe not getting that support and everything that I was just talking about a moment ago. And anytime you've got a large organization going from another tool, this also so happened that we got through the workshops and then COVID hit. So we also had everybody going from an in-office to remote during that time frame. So it was a very interesting challenge that we came up with, or that we came up against. Really, how we got through it, Mark, with the pivot to not being able to be on site, going through and doing more video and those types of interactions with the client, it really made us change our project approach. While we've always followed things more to the letter and going through, doing the stories, doing the build-up, I think we had to double down on that a little bit as everybody was going through the transition. So a lot of it was over communication. People were also distracted from, nobody knew at that time what's going on with the pandemic. It was a pretty scary time, and you're still trying to work. So that was a pretty unique challenge for us. And really what our approach was to double down on the core delivery components, right? Documentation, meeting minutes, making sure that we had multiple people approving, because it wasn't the same, right? You didn't have people together in the room, schedules were all over the place. And so improvement in documentation, improvement in the way that we did delivery, improvement in the even more showbacks and reviews, until we got more into a swing and got people comfortable. We just wanted to keep presenting the tool, what we were doing, and going through it. So, with that challenge, Mark, in that unique situation, we really focused more on increased communications until the point where everybody was comfortable. I don't want to make it sound like we were hitting everybody with spam and multiple iterations through. We just made sure that all the information was out there, that people were comfortable building that consensus. And it took a little bit more time, to be honest with you. It required us to be much more diligent, because it was harder to keep people's attention, harder to keep people that were involved in the project when they were used to going into the office for years within their career, and all of a sudden they're doing everything through a camera on their laptop. Mark, to answer that challenge, we just went back to good, solid project foundational delivery and over communication around that challenge.
Yeah. So over communication, over documentation, just doing those basics really well. I've been chatting with Jerry Dolak. Jerry is a principal at RSM, and he is running the ServiceNow national practice. And we've been chatting little bit about his journey to now, the world of ServiceNow. We had some really nice examples of SPM and ESG and return on investments on that. Jerry, we love to ask our guests for the final say. Quick question, what is our next question for our guest going to be?
Yeah, I think something that weighs on a lot of ServiceNow people's minds right now is how are we going to address the labor challenges that we're all experiencing right now? ServiceNow is in very high demand. ServiceNow resources are constantly getting pulled in multiple directions. We as an organization want to retain our resources, and with that, there's increasing cost. And as a business, I'd be interested in hear what the other participants in your podcast, Mark, have to say about what they're doing to address the labor need within ServiceNow delivery.
Jerry, I'll be loving to ask that question because it's a market we know particularly well. Jerry Dolak, thank you very much for your time today.
Anytime, Mark. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.